Well, bowling fans, we're back again, New Berlin Bowl. Chad Soares, head coach of the UW Milwaukee bowling program with me. Chad, we got the boys' finals here for the 900 Global Summer Classic. They got to put up with the same lane conditions that the girls had, so could be a struggle. Somebody can make it into a strike fest, too.
Absolutely, and what I'm looking forward to is you've got two of your normal bowlers in Mason and Ryan, but you've also got a couple of newcomers in Dan and Quintin, so it could be interesting. Maybe somebody has a breakthrough. Maybe we got a newcomer that wins this thing, or one of the regulars ends up with it.
You never know. Once again, we're going to have that 36-foot pattern on the left lane, the 47-foot pattern on the right lane. Anything can happen when they're making all these little adjustments back and forth. So Chad and I are going to be back with the boys roll-off here from the Berlin Bowl in just a moment. Make sure you stay tuned and join us.
The Look is the strongest back-ending ball in the new 900 Global lineup. With a high 255 RG and 050 differential, the Look will easily get down the lane, saving its power. Then look out for a hard turn as it exits the oil pattern.
All right, the boys roll off for the 900 Global Summer Classic. We're going to fast forward through the first three frames of action here. Quintin Fischer starting things off on the short pattern, and he just leaves that one a little bit right, Chad, leaving a washout.
Yeah, the short pattern, definitely, if you got it going right, it still had a little bit of hold area, and you can see overcompensated, and the ball just took off right.
Ryan Zagar starting off on the right lane, which has that 47-foot long pattern. See how tight he's playing the lane, and doesn't quite get the break on the messenger to take the 10 out. Ryan, a pretty excellent spare shooter, should have no problem covering the spare. And he does. And Joey Kopera, he'll be starting off on the short pattern. See him a little deeper than when Quintin started out. And a little bit left to start with, Chad gets him in trouble with a 3-6-10.
Oh, yeah, and a very difficult spare to make on a house shot, let alone a tougher shot like this. So we'll see how he approaches it. Well, not exactly textbook, but still gets the job done.
Covers it up nicely. Quintin Fischer moving over to a long pattern. Pretty upright at the line, but a little slow at the release, and that leaves him lucky to just have a 3-pin.
And you hope he can just throw it straight at the pin and covers it without a problem.
Takes the lane out of play there a little bit. Ryan Zagar, we've seen him be pretty successful on short patterns before. Plays it up the outside part of the lane relatively straight and gets the wall shot.
And that's exactly where you want to play on a short pattern, is try and play further right towards the gutter.
Joey's strength is getting deep and left, and he's showing it right now. He did real well in the long pattern in qualifying. He gets a strike right there. Quintin back to the short pattern for his third frame, just way left out of his hand. Lucky to still hit the head pin, and unusual to just leave a 3-10 on that shot.
Yeah, the ball, the Storm Frantic, that's a little bit overreacting right now for him, so might have to make a ball change. We'll see what happens.
Covers that spare up nicely, though. Gets the nerves out of the way and covers up that 3-10. Ryan, nice and straight as well, but a little left out of his hand. Lucky to just leave the 6. I'd say he has one of the best spare games for a young player in the state. No problem covering that 6-pin up.
Anytime you can make your single pin spares definitely helps you on these challenging patterns.
This time Joey gets a little bit deeper. Still can't get it far enough to right, but the lucky break on the crossover strike. And with that, we're going to get back to regular pace here. Slow things down for everybody. But we got to stay within our time constraints that our friends at Time Warner Cable Sports 32 give us. And you see the reverse blown 5, the 5-pin going into the 10. I like throwing those, but I'm a lefty. So
well, and we should be hitting that side of the lane then.
So Quintin out of Green Bay. Bowls at Village Lanes up there, and once again, goes a little bit high. And once again, another 3-10 to shoot at for him. And I think it's a little bit of the nerves to start off with for Quintin. This is his first TV appearance with us on the U Challenge Series.
Well, and I think anybody who has done this before, bowled on TV, will tell you that it's the nerves of knowing people are watching you, the lights, everything gets added in together, and you just try and force the ball a little harder than you should.
Flattens it out nicely, and I'll tell you what, great spare game. I was watching Quintin all day during qualifying when I had a chance, and I didn't see him miss too many spares out there, and that's kind of what's holding him in. Yeah, he's 27 pins down right now since Joey's got a double on the board, But that's what's keeping him in this match so far. He could easily have a 30 in the third frame instead of 43. Well, Ryan Zagar, too many titles to count on the U Challenge Series. Too many TV appearances, but had a nice showing at Junior Gold recently in Indianapolis, just outside the top 16, and another great shot for Ryan.
And I think definitely one of the things that helps Ryan on these shorter patterns is his speed. He can definitely get the ball going down the lane before it's going to start hooking and rolling.
Ryan Zagar just finished in 4th place at the Wisconsin High School Tournament this past season. Joey Kopera, your reigning Illinois State High School champ. He's going to be attending, I believe, St. Ambrose University in Iowa this fall. A couple of good players out there as well that you've seen on the U Challenge Series before, with Kyle Anderson and Adam Keith. And a great shot there by Joey for a 3-bagger.
Yeah, he definitely made a good adjustment on this lane. You can see how the ball just goes right through the pins. The 6 wraps around and knocks a 10 on the way out.
So extends his lead to 20 pins over Ryan Zagar and 37 pins over Quintin Fischer. Quintin looking for his first strike here in the 5th frame. Finally got it right where he wanted to. 10 pins back in the pit.
Yeah, it looked like he made a major move left and got the ball still pretty much in the center of the head pin, or the center of the lane. He didn't get it too far out, and the ball just faced up. You could see it almost rolled out right when it got to the head pin.
And with 24 feet of dry, yeah, that's a lot of time for that ball to lose energy. And only qualifying, even on the short pattern, you think the lanes took a lot. We still saw some 8-10s out of the right-handed bowlers out there today because the ball just died before it got to the head pin. Ryan Zagar just playing point A to point B, basically, and a little unlucky there to wrap that 10.
Well, and that's a line on the longer patterns that we see being played at the college level, is that fade line where it starts out left, it just fades right past the head pin. The only caution is leaving those flat 10s, which isn't the worst case in the world because you are going to carry those eventually.
Yeah, we saw the girls show. The scores weren't very high, so Ryan's probably thinking to himself, if I can stay clean here, maybe get up to 210, 220, I can probably get out of this match with a win, even though he's got a Dutch going right now through 5 frames. Joey Kopera looking for a 4-bagger up here. 10 300 games under Joey's belt, high series 805. Last year he was the winner of our Summer Classic tournament when it was a mixed doubles format. This year it's just a singles format. And he's lucky to just leave a 9-pin on that crossover shot.
Boy, yeah, I tell you, Phil, you can definitely see that the short pattern is giving both the girls it gave them fits and a couple of these guys right now. It definitely is making them think about what they want to do with the ball.
Yeah. Joey's gone to a couple of bowling camps this summer. Really working on his game hard. Had another great showing at Junior Gold as well. Bowled the Team Masters, just missed the top 18, the top 8 there at Junior Masters, but he's having a pretty good summer as well. Let's see what Quintin can do here. He's looking for a double. He's back on that long pattern. Looks like he needs to get that ball a little bit. I thought he was going to actually get back to the pocket on that shot. I thought he was a little left, and it just kind of slid long on him.
That was not a bad shot. It just looked like it didn't turn up the way he needed to, so either he missed it a little bit at the bottom of the shot or just a hair quick.
And never an easy spare to make on these telecasts with that sleeper pin back there with the 8. Makes that move off his strike line. Looks like he's just going to hook it across the lane and gets them both nicely.
I think that was an excellent approach right there. I don't think Quintin could have really done anything differently on that. I think hooking over at it is a real solid approach to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen bowlers before take plastic and just shoot straight at the 2, and if you have the accuracy in your game to do it, it's a great thing to do, but I would never trust myself personally to do that. I hook into my railroad spares. Let's see what Ryan can do here on that short pattern. Nice and direct and just shatters the rack.
Yeah, that's just an awesome line that he's playing right now. It looks like he's either right up 5 or just to the right of 5, and like we talked about before, on this short pattern, that's where you want to be.
Now, Ryan probably one of the best bowlers on the short pattern in the state of Wisconsin. He just needs to tweak himself a little bit on that long pattern to catch up to Joey, and Joey gave him a little break by crossing over last frame and ended that streak at 3 strikes in a row. And that's just left out of his hand. Oh, but that one holds for him.
Yeah, the long pattern definitely helped him with that. If he would have made that shot on 23, that thing would have probably taken out the 4-pin.
We're going to be back with the rest of this opening roll-off from New Berlin Bowl in just a couple of minutes. Make sure you stay tuned. We had the bowlers bowl through the commercial break to stay within our time allotment here. Quintin Fischer on the short pattern in lane 23. Gets himself back in the pocket, just a little unlucky to not kick that 10 out. A slightly weak hit. Switches that polyester ball, goes cross lane, but goes in the gutter, and Chad, doesn't count when it bounces out, does it?
No, most of our bowlers out there might say, hey, when you come out bowling with your family and friends, that does count, but not in a league or a tournament.
Ryan Zagar looking to get his first double of the day. Struggled on lane 24 earlier, but he's finally got that double on the board. And Joey Kopera looking to get a double to keep his lead. Unfortunately, he just gets a little left to start with and a terrible break, leaving a 410. Looks like he's just going to go for the one pin to get the count, keep himself within a mark, and we're going to get back to the action live here with Ryan Zagar inheriting the lead. On the bench, if he can throw another strike, he's only down by 2 pins, working on a double.
Well, and I think that was a great approach by Ryan early in the match when he was struggling a little bit is, hey, just keep around the head pin, just keep knocking down pins, and sooner or later I'm going to figure this out.
Well, Quintin not mathematically out of this yet, but he needs to start throwing a lot more strikes, and how about that? Quintin gets himself one on the long pattern. Still within 40 pins, 39 pins, so still got a 200 game out there, but he's going to need a little stumble from his opponents to get all the way caught up.
And that was a great shot by Quintin right there. So, yeah, a lot of fight still left in him, and you got to like that as a bowler.
Yeah, Quintin wanted to thank his ball driller, Dwight Albrecht, the Pro Shop guy here in New Berlin Bowl with Spirit Time Pro Shop. We'll have Dwight dropping by in our semifinal match to let us know what his fall specials are. And Ryan Zagar takes the lead with that strike.
Yeah, now it looks like Ryan's pretty much got control of this match. He's really getting comfortable on the lanes, and that could prove really, really disastrous for the rest of the field.
Yeah, and Ryan 4 for 4 on that left lane on the short pattern, and he gets to throw his 10th frame on that, so he knows he's in control right now. Joey Kopera, 10 back in the pit. Styling those shorts here today. With this nice Wisconsin heat wave during the summer, we kind of relaxed the dress code a bit for the kids for this tournament and let them bowl in shorts, and he's styling them, and he's throwing a lot of strikes at them, so he may ask for that for a permanent dress code change for the Youth Challenge Series. Quintin Fischer looking for his first double of the afternoon. He's had his struggles here in this left lane, and wow, that's he got as far right as he wanted to, but a little bit too far.
Well, and I think what he's probably thinking of in his head is, boy, I got to get this ball going a little further right to compensate for how much it's coming in the back end, and he just sent it right. And like we talked about really early in the match, on this short pattern, if you go too far on an angle to the right, it's not coming back at all.
Yeah, you can see he was trying to hold on. I mean, that camera is almost 50 feet down lane, and that ball was still trying to defy gravity, hold on, and get back to the pocket. And he gets 9, so that's pretty much going to end Quintin's day here. He's got 139 in the 9th, 169 maximum, so he's a little frustrated with himself as he walks back off the approach, but it's not the low game ever on our telecast, even right now with this 139 if you went gutter in the 10th frame. Well, we've had double-digit scores on our shows.
I think what Quintin's got to take out of this is, hey, I got this under my belt now. Next time I won't be as nervous, and I'll be making better shots.
Ryan Zagar looking to extend that strike string. And, oh, how about that? Whoa! What hit the 9?
It was just a frozen rope right to the head pin, and the ball just completely passed up the 9. But I don't know what that was that came around swinging.
Come on, let's get a replay here. There we go. Let's take a look at what comes off the wall. It's the 3-pin coming back off the wall and taking the 9 out. You don't see that
very often.
No, not at all. And he knew how important that strike was because now he can't lose no matter what in the 10th frame. I mean, he can get up and open, and it's going to force Joey Kopera to get a double if he gets a strike on this shot as well. So Joey with a lot of pressure on him in the 9th frame. Looks like it's going to set up. Oh, I thought it was going to set up a little later for him and read a little early, and he leaves the 6-10.
Yeah, that ball definitely started up sooner. Could be a pin below the ring finger type of drilling, which is nice and controllable, but on a short pattern like this, it's going to take off really soon.
Yeah, and with 3 bowlers bowling on the pair at the same time, they're going to take a little oil off. I mean, Quintin's playing the same area that Joey is, and that oil is going to go away a little bit quicker than they would normally expect in a stepladder match. So, well, with that spare, Ryan Zagar up by 23 pins, and all he has to do is mark when he gets up in the 10th frame, and he's going to move on to the semifinal match against Mason Petrin. Nice shot by Quintin. And of course they fall when they don't matter.
Sure, yeah. Now he's nice and relaxed. He went up there. That was a great shot right there.
So Quintin's still looking for that 169 finish if he can go off the sheet. So his high game, 279, hasn't broken that 300 game barrier yet, but he's going to pretty soon, I can imagine, with the improvement he's made. He wanted to thank his coach, Jerry Polaric, up at Village Lanes, Green Bay, all the help he's made over his game over the last season or two. And that one, just a hair light, leaves the 245. And as you said earlier, Chad, this is just an experience to build on for Quintin.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, your tournaments are great for this. It really teaches the kids how to perform under a little bit of a stressful situation, work on their mental game, and I think they all become better bowlers because of it.
So spare this up. If he gets it, he'll get 159. And that one, and of course, when it rains, it pours, because now he chops the 2-4 off the 5 on the way back. You can see he's not happy with himself, but I think he'll be back in the fall when we start our Youth Challenge Series at Castle Lanes and Racine in August. Later in August, we'll have those telecasts for you as well on Time Warner Cable Sports 32. I want to thank our friends there. Ryan taking a little extra time. Knows how important getting a mark is in this frame to get him to the semifinal match. So it's 4 for 4 so far on the left lane this game. Looks nicely online, Chad.
That's a great shot. And I think, one thing you just mentioned is Ryan taking a little more time. And the thing I've noticed about him is it doesn't make a difference what the shot means. If it's, he needs a strike, he needs a mark, it doesn't matter. He's won, he's lost. He always takes the same amount of time, puts the same amount of thought into every shot.
Yeah. Well, this match no longer in doubt. We're going to save a few minutes on the telecast here. We're going to let the bowlers finish out. Ryan Zagar, Mason Petrin will be your semifinal match, so join us back from New Berlin Bowl in just a moment, and we'll have that semifinal for you. There's limited availability in New Berlin's fall bowling leagues. Call to reserve your spot today. Come in and enjoy the daily food and beverage specials inside the Ale House. Our spacious and comfortable banquet facility can host your business meeting or your wedding reception. New Berlin Ale House on Cleveland Avenue in New Berlin.
As you see here, the motion is strong, defined, and predictable. The downlane continuation and overall hook generated by the perfect pairing of the SRC core and F74 cover will make this ball an instant favorite.
Well, we got that boys roll off in the books here from New Berlin Bowl. We're on to our semifinal match. Ryan Zagar came out of that with a huge game. He's got the momentum going against Mason Petrin here, but Chad, Mason never out of anything, is he, with that strong game he has?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the role he has on the ball definitely makes him very versatile on a lot of different patterns.
Little high in that lane on the short pattern. He's playing a little bit tighter than I thought he would be on lane 23, a little farther to the left than I thought.
But it still wasn't an absolutely horrible shot. If you notice, it jumped at the end, but it was a controllable reaction in the back end, and I think he's probably going to be able to line up off of that.
So switches to a polyester ball, moves to the left side of the lane with a little speed. No problem covering that one up. Ryan Zagar coming up, working off that great momentum last game with his 234. Got to make him the favorite a little bit. He's noticed the pair. He's seen the adjustments, the transition he went through with 2 other bowlers on the pair, and he's lined up.
And I think that's more than anything what's going to make him the favorite is he's got momentum on his side right now.
You mentioned before you were always the kind of guy that wanted to be 3rd or 4th in a stepladder final and work your way up. Ryan seems to kind of be the same way. He's had some struggles in the past at top seed, but when he's 3rd seed, 4th seed, earlier this year he was 4th seed in the New Berlin Open back in September, ran the stepladder and won that tournament as well. So,
well, I think what a lot of people don't really take into account is when you're the lower seed, people are going to cheer for you. They see you, they want to see how far you can go, so you end up with the crowd behind you as well.
Ryan's just going to stay with that strike ball, just flatten it out. No problem covering it up. Nothing like throwing an old 23-mile-an-hour rocket in order to knock those single pins down.
I honestly wouldn't know, Phil. So
I did that when I was his age, and yeah, lately if I get if there's something on 20 on the speed gun on these bowling lanes, it's got to be a mistake.
There you go.
So switches to an older ball. I think he's throwing an Ebonite Mission. It's been a favorite ball in his arsenal for a couple of years now, especially on drier patterns. The drilling he got from Lenny Borsch, you just see the roll is just smooth, easy transition, and he might be seeing some transition after Mason got his 4 practice balls in each lane before the match started.
Definitely, and I think one thing you mentioned, it's an older ball. You're starting to see that more often is you're not going to have an entire brand new arsenal. You're going to have that one ball in your bag that you go, this is the one I can control, this is the one I know exactly what it's going to do.
And especially on these tougher short patterns. The lowest scoring pattern we had out there today on the 3 patterns we gave the bowlers in qualifying was this short pattern. It's the one everybody struggled on. We only had a couple bowlers over 600 for 3 game totals. And you can see there Ryan kind of confused on the way back going, I really thought the ball was going to get across and take both pins out. He leaves the 4 pin.
Yeah, and that's frustrating when you go up there and you think, yeah, I got this, it's going to take off, and then it just slides and you go, I got nothing.
So, and Mason's got that little bit of a different ball roll, more end over end. It really keeps the ball in play. And on a longer pattern, he's using kind of a tame ball here with a Storm Frantic. But point A to point B, we saw Ryan do the same thing last match, except Ryan got his 9 pin out.
Right, yeah, that was just a little higher. So, he's very lucky, Mason's lucky to kick the 4 pin forward.
So, that 2 pin goes to the wall, does a little work, but can't quite get the 9 out of there. But a spare here is going to leave him with a 13 pin lead after the first 2 frames. But as we saw in match number 1, no lead is safe early.
Absolutely. You just don't know what's going to happen. You just got to keep plugging away, filling frames. And recently we saw Mason and Ryan team up for our college team's fundraising tournament. They ran pretty much away with the qualifying. They got passed in the match play, but then they came back and ended up beating David and Stephanie Schwartz in the finals. So congratulations to them for that.
Yeah, you talk about 4 of the best bowlers, youth bowlers in the state of Wisconsin right now in your finals of that tournament. No doubt. Great tournament you ran, great early turnoff for your inaugural event, and youth bowlers look for that UWM tournament next year. What was the title of that tournament again, Chad?
It was the last pair standing. We decided to go with a doubles event. We're definitely going to do another 1 or 2. We might do an adult junior later in the year. We'll have to see. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
So Mason with a little tougher spare conversion here with the 2-4. Covers it up nicely. I've seen righties that play as straight as him chop that 2 off the 4 pin as well. No gimme on that for a player like Mason. So it always leaves them shaking their head too. They got that right-handed hook, but they flatten out for the spare and they chop the 2 off the 4. And you just see them kind of tilt their head like a dog that hears a whistle. Like, really? So see what Ryan can do to bounce back here off his first frame struggle in this lane. Came up a little light on both lanes. That ball's a little left out of his hand, and oh my.
You can't really do too much more than that. That was an absolutely perfect shot. And yeah, you got to wonder what's going through his head now of, okay, what do I got to do now?
Yeah, he definitely lined up a little bit better in that shot, and that's just amazing how that 5 can get sawed off the 8 pin on such a powerful shot. All you can do is keep your composure, get back out there, and just cover the spare and not lose any more pins. You can see Ryan just going through his normal pre-shot routine. He's real good about letting the bad breaks go away and just not staying in his head.
Yeah, short-term memory loss is absolutely vital as a baseball relief pitcher and also as a bowler.
So it's down by 11 pins, still well within this match. And if you would have told me before we started this match, Chad, that they would each go 3 frames without throwing a strike, I probably would have given you 10-1 odds against it.
I would have taken that too.
And that's just real quick all the way, and almost gets the backdoor 1-2-4 carry, but leaves the solid head pin.
Yeah, that was just a ringing head pin right there by Ryan, and he's probably thinking, wow, what else can I stone on this pair?
Well, you see that ball goes late, you just watch that 5 pin hit the 7, flip up in the air, and next thing you know, he's got the cold head pin out there. So go back to the strike line with it, nice and easy. You can see the speed difference.
Oh, yeah.
Where he just got a little fast in lane 23, and away it went. Even people, and that's one thing I see bowling sport leagues or coaching people that bowl in sport conditions, they think because it's such a short pattern and there's so much dry, they have to throw it faster, and a lot of times you don't.
Well, and you also risk, when you try and increase your speed, is actually hitting on the ball harder, so then you're pretty much just doing exactly against what you wanted to.
Mason keeping a nice straight line, and that 5 pin just doesn't quite do enough work to take the 7 out. And that can be one of those things where he's using kind of a tamer ball in a longer pattern. It gets into the pocket, but he can't really drive through strong.
I did like his approach on that shot, though, where it was just nice and easy off his hand. He just stroked it down the lane, nothing fancy. And just the 5 pin was a little tardy.
He's going to stay nice and straight with it. Polyester ball, no problem there. Keeps himself in the lead by 11 pins. Hey, it's still hot out. Get that air conditioning tuned up before we get another heat wave. Give our friends at Action Heating and Cooling a call. Want to thank them again. They're sponsoring all of our adult tournaments this year at Motion Plus Lanes, our singles, alternate shot doubles, and our team events. So give Kerry Catania a call, Motion Plus Lanes. He'll give you the dates and details of all those tournaments. And that's kind of a surprise for me on 23. I thought with Mason's role, he wouldn't have too much of a problem with getting the ball up to the pocket early enough.
Well, maybe we are starting to see carry down, that the ball's just pushing further down the lane before it's going to react.
So not an easy spare to make getting into the commercial break here. I'd probably give him about 3-1 odds against it, especially in a shorter pattern. It kind of fools you to get over. You can see not happy when you let it go. Takes one pin with that. He's going to hand the lead over to Ryan Zagar by 2 pins. Chad Source now will be back for New Berlin Bowl in just a couple of minutes after the short break with the rest of the semifinal match in the 900 Global Summer Classic. Second half of our semifinal here for the 900 Global Summer Classic in the boys division. Chad Ryan Zagar here got the lead handed to him when he was on the bench and needs to get over those non-striking struggles he didn't have in the roll-off.
Yeah, I think he just needs to settle down a little bit and go back to what he did successfully last match and just make shots.
And once again, struggling to get the ball all the way up on lane 24.
Well, we're seeing both bowlers now have ball reaction problems on both patterns. And that's really interesting that you'd think one would be seriously overreacting, but now both of them are underreacting.
And a bucket, not an easy spare to try to make out here on a long pattern and a tough flat condition. I think even a PBA pro would be kind of shaking in his shoes right about now. Relatively straight and way, way left.
Well, and that's a shot that you talked about earlier when you had the 2-8 up of hooking into it, but you'll see a lot of players moving left and throwing straight at that because there are 4 pins up.
So 14-pin lead back to Mason Petrin sitting on the bench. 5 frames, Chad. Not a strike from either bowler. That's just an amazing stat right now.
Well, and this is, we talked about it last match, the emphasis on staying out of trouble and making spares. And I think right now that's what's going to end up moving one of these bowlers on.
So Dan Perry, a newcomer to Youth Challenge Series, is our top seed today. Ryan keeps throwing shots like that. He might have a chance to face Dan in that final match.
There he goes. Yeah, you said he was comfortable on the short pattern. He went back to what was working pretty much outside with that same ball and just absolutely obliterated the pocket.
So we'll see what Mason Petrin can do here. Mason's high game 300, high series at 801. Wanted to thank his college coach Dale Lehman down at Robert Morris. And well, I guess if Dale's, and of course his grandfather, Tom Zerny, a great coach as well, got him throwing strikes like that. He's got a pretty good college career ahead of him.
And that was definitely a good answer there after Ryan puts up a strike, Mason steps up, puts another one right in the pocket.
Hey, look who's walking behind us. Let's get Dwight Albrecht in here for a second. Dwight's busy he's been busy all day in the pro shop helping these kids out. They were able to make surface adjustments all day to the equipment. I know he was doing some sanding and some polishing for the kids. And Dwight, how's it going this afternoon?
Great, Phil. Thanks for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
And Dwight, you've commented on enough strikes over the time that you've helped us out here in these Youth Challenge telecasts. You got to watch these bowlers a little bit today during the warm-ups. Who's your favorite right now going in the last 4 frames?
Well, Ryan's great. I mean, obviously you can always look at his physical game. And the biggest thing, Phil, is he knows his equipment and what his equipment needs to do. And that's the key to success when you're having not only different lane conditions across the tournament, but here, especially on this pair, you got 2 different conditions just on 1 pair of lanes.
So Ryan Zagar looking to match him with the double here and 10 straight back in the pit. Can't throw it better than that. And you mentioned knowing your equipment pretty well there, Dwight. You got some good specials coming up beginning of the season to get the bowler's equipment tuned back up after it's been sitting in the closet all summer.
Absolutely, Phil. I mean, this is the time of the year that you got to get the ball out, and the biggest thing right now is getting the oil out of the shell, and there's many ways of getting the oil safely out of the shell, and we call it heat treatments, but there's a lot of different ways of doing it. And then the other thing that happens, Phil, at this time of the year is the ball tracks up a lot from last year's use, and so it's a very busy time of the year for resurfacing work. Myself, like a lot of shops in town, we have state-of-the-art resurfacing machines like the Haas resurfacing machine, which does a wonderful job bringing ball perfectly back to round factory specs.
And I think Ryan would like the factory spec a strike on that shot instead of a 210. We saw Mason leave that in the 5th frame. It wasn't successful on the conversion, and trying to hook at it. And And doesn't quite get it over. Chad, your opinion on hooking or going straight at a 210 like that?
I think you can do it either way. If you're comfortable enough with your spare ball to go, I'm going to line up off the 4-pin, throw it straight at it, otherwise hook over. And Dwight, you know, you were talking about resurfacing and getting oil out, but would you recommend bowlers changing their grips, especially if they haven't done it in quite a long time?
Absolutely. Great point, Chad. I recommend every 100 games, if you bowl once a week, once a season. I always like to use the philosophy of a golf grip. At the previous place I worked, we always talked to golfers about getting their grips changed at least once a year on the golf clubs. It can make a big difference on preventing the squeezing. With bowling balls, when the grips wear out, you're going to squeeze harder to hold on to it. You don't get as much lift off the finger. So absolutely, every 100 games, the grip should be changed in the ball. And it's cheap. It's only, I mean, $6 a pair is what we charge, or $3 a grip to change the finger inserts. And to have that wonderful feel in the ball, you can't put a price on that.
Absolutely. So with that spare, Mason Petrin stays up with 27 pins with 2 frames to go, match well in hand, and I think if he gets a mark in the 9th frame here, it's going to force Ryan Zagar to strike out to have any chance. Yeah, Mason right now, if you were to go spare strike off the sheet, he'd be in the 190s. Ryan right now, 185 is his maximum score. So
all day, Phil, we saw that certain bowlers had their favorite lane condition and did well in their favorite lane condition. You would think that the crankers would have done well in the longer pattern, but we ended up finding out that wasn't necessarily the case. Guys that had the higher ball speed actually bowled pretty good on the drier conditions or the short pattern. So it was a grind for these kids all day during the tournament. Great bowling, though, out of all of them to get this far.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, too, you know, you think it would be the crankers on lane 24 that would be scoring well. High ball speed, and basically point A to point B is how they're playing lane 24, Chad.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about how you can stand left and just throw it a little bit right. If you think about it, if you're aiming at the 4th arrow, the ball goes to the 3rd arrow, which is board 15. It only needs to hook 2 boards to get back towards the head pin.
Right. So Ryan really needs a strike here in the 9th frame to have any chance. And you talked about that fade shot, Chad, where it's just the ball kind of fades back real slightly into the pocket, and he carries everything out.
I think if you were to say, oh, Mason needs a mark here to really force a bowler to do something, it probably would make that bowler nervous, but not Ryan. He's got too strong of a mental game that he knows exactly what he needs to do at any frame, so he can definitely still pull this off.
Yeah, and Ryan does need to strike out to force a mark for Mason in the 10th frame on that short pattern. And wow, what a terrible break on a blower 7-10. He's lucky to get the 10 out, but it doesn't really matter because now Mason just has to step up and get count in the 10th frame to the final against Dan Perry. It's just the 5 went behind the 7. That's just amazing. So
it's not going to make him feel any better, but he put the shot where he wanted to.
And once again, the 25-mile-an-hour rocket to cover up that 7-pin. Dwight's holding his hip back here because if he tried to throw in a 25, they'd have to reset it in his socket.
I was thinking more of my rotator cuff on my shoulder, actually. If I tried to do that, I would have to go to an ER immediately. Nice to be young, Phil.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't the game that Ryan was looking for, a 165, but another great showing. Ends up finishing in 3rd place here at the 900 Global Summer Classic. Mason Petrin going to be moving on here with any count. See what he can do here on that long pattern. It doesn't matter. It's a little left. He leaves the 9-pin. It doesn't matter. We're going to save a little time here. We're going to get it back and get into the final match, get some practice going. We're going to take this break. Dwight, thanks for sitting in with us today.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Chad.
Chad and I will be back with the final match here from New Berlin Bowl between Dan Perry and Mason Petrin in just a couple of minutes, so make sure you stay tuned. I have a lot of viewers that ask me, why do you have so many of your tournaments at Castle Lanes? Well, Castle Lanes is a center that has an exceptional atmosphere. The charm of being in a Northwoods cabin while you bowl, an attentive staff on the lanes and in the lounge, all the big screen TVs, and a free Wi-Fi hotspot, and being named in Bowler's Journal as one of the 95 places to bowl before you die, you have to bowl at Castle Lanes. That's why we love Castle Lanes, and you will too.
The freight train will allow bowlers with above average rev rates to really open up the lane. Play rather deep, generating a lot of motion, and still finish hard through the pin deck. This ball really feeds off the heaviest of oil conditions. When we chose the aggressive S77 shell, we knew we had to elongate the core to provide more length, or we would have too much hook too early on the lane. By adding the energy block to the combustion core, we could raise the RG to get pushed down the lane, but also the energy block allows us to maintain the differential, which gives us that pronounced move to the pocket you see. The freight train has a perfect match of core and cover.
We've waited all day for it, bowling fans. The championship match here at the 900 Global Summer Classic for our boys division, and got a newcomer, Dan Perry, coming on the lanes against Mason Petrin here, Chad. And tell you what, Mason's got that nice forward roll, and Dan Perry plays it relatively straight as well, so it could be just who makes the fewest mistakes will win this match.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see pretty much the same type of lines. I think both players throwing on both lanes, so we'll have to see what happens.
Mason with a nice start. I'm surprised he got out of the gates on 23. He really struggled on that short pattern last game, and he had to sit around and watch Dan throw his practice. Maybe he found something watching Dan bowl.
That would be my guess, is he just saw a part of the lane he was playing and had some success and thought, hey, I can try playing that line. Let's see what happens.
Now we're going to get our first look at Dan Perry out of Cary, Illinois. Chad, do you think when he gets close to the pocket of that shot, do you think he yells hometown instead of Cary? No, that's a bad joke to start off with here for Dan's first appearance on TV. Not a bad shot, but lucky to get that 5-pin out on that pretty straight ball there.
Well, and that's definitely something that when you're playing on a straighter, or a heavier pattern, if you try and play too straight with the lanes, you risk something like that happening.
Yeah, that ball just had no chance to turn over once it got into that 1-2 pocket, and lucky the head pin came off the wall and got rid of that 5-pin. Switches to that polyester bowling ball. Cross-lane at the spare. No problem covering up, and you know Dan's got to have a pretty good spare game. He recently finished in the top 16 at a PBA regional down in Orland Park, Illinois. So bowling against some of the big names like Dave Traber, Dale Traber. Dave's one of Dan's coaches. Lenny Borsch, all those great bowlers on the PBA Midwest Regional Tour. Finishing the top 16, it's pretty impressive.
That is. It's impressive just to make the round of 32, the first cut after qualifying, but to make it that far, even more so.
That's probably how he made it there, tripping out 4 9s like that on the short pattern. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to get both the pins to fall the same direction here. Let's see if we get a replay. Watch that 4-pin and the 9-pin both go out to the right.
Well, Phil, it is the Olympic season, so synchronized pin falling, I guess.
What did the Russian judge give that one? The Russian judge only gave a 9.2. We'll have to check that out. Mason here back on that long pattern. He's done pretty well on this today with that Storm Frantic and keeping it in the pocket.
When you keep it right around the head pin, good things normally happen to you.
So you see Riley Smith back there. He's been on a lot of our telecasts over the years. Mason want to thank Riley Smith for allowing him to go beast mode today. And of course, Riley's sister Michelle gets a thanks as well for giving Mason a wake-up call. We'll just leave that as it is and go on to Mason's third frame here. Looking to get that strike on the short pattern. And is he going to roll the 10 out? Can't quite do it.
No, but I think we've seen 3 frames now out of Mason. 3 pretty good shots, and I think he's got to be feeling pretty good about his game right now.
So gets the 4 out, 4 almost gets rolled into the 10. Wiggles it a bit, but Mason's spare game here should have no problem covering this up. You see him move well to the left side of the approach. Polyester ball and a pretty end-over-end roll means that ball is not going to hook any more than a board. No problem there. With the college season coming up, I bet you probably sent an email out to your bowlers already saying practice your spares before you get the tryouts, haven't you, Chad?
Oh, yeah. We have practices where we just shoot at spares, and definitely in the tryout process, one of the things they keep track of is single pin misses and spares. So that all comes into account, and I can't stress that enough to any bowler out there is practice your spares.
Yeah, we as college coaches have in the past probably pulled enough hair out to make a single pin out of it. So after watching our bowlers miss them, great shot there by Dan. He didn't get that 7-pin out in the first frame, but no problem getting it out in the third. And that ball just turned over a little bit harder on the back end.
Yeah, I'm not sure what adjustment. It could have been a 1-board move, a 2-board move, maybe slowed down just a hair, but it looked like almost the same shot, just with a little more pop in the back end.
And that gets him in the 1-pin lead early. After 3 frames here at New Berlin Bowl. They got a couple of league openings, not many here at New Berlin coming in the fall league, so if you're looking to get into the league, make sure you give Landon Karras, the bowling manager, a call here. 262-641-0014 will get you that bowling desk at New Berlin Bowl and New Berlin Ale House. We'll get you signed up for some leagues. Couples leagues are always a blast here, Chad.
Well, a lot of the leagues. I've bowled in the Tuesday night Ale House League. It's a huge league, and bowlers of all caliber. It's a lot of fun. You can bowl with some really good bowlers, some bowlers that are just here for fun. So, yeah, great place to bowl.
So make sure you give them a call if you're looking to squeeze into a fall league, because they are filling them quick, and just that bad break after the crossover and no chance at that 5-10 for the spare, and Dan goes from the lead down to 15 pins behind.
When you talked about who's going to make the first mistake, who's going to make the most mistakes, well, there's the first one right there.
So Mason, want to thank his grandpa, Tom Zernia. Tom's running a couple of youth coaching clinics, and you can get those at the information on those at the Bowling Centers of Wisconsin website. It's bowlwi.com. Some great coaches coming in. Dr. Dean Hinnitz, I know you've done work with him in the past, Chad.
Yeah, Dr. Dean is the best sports psychologist when it comes to bowling, and if you have not read his book, Focus for Bowling, definitely go out, go to the library, take it out, buy it, whatever you got to do, but that definitely is going to help you as a bowler.
It was a great clinic with him. As we said, it's September 22nd and 23rd. Go to bowlwi.com for all the details on that clinic, and Tom's got that put together. Bob Mackey as well, who we've both done work with in the past. Another member that's put that clinic together, so it should be a pretty good clinic that weekend in September. Well, Mason looking to get back on the strike train here, getting into the commercial break. That's left out of his hand. And can't buy a break like that during league most of the time, but Mason gets it here. We're going to get in the commercial break real quick. Chad and I will be back from New Berlin Bowl with the rest of our boys' championship for the 900 Global Summer Classic in just a moment. Oh, somehow we managed to survive the break. Dan Perry looking to survive on the lanes here, down by 14 pins in the 5th frame at the 900 Global Summer Classic. Dan's been pretty successful his first 2 shots on this lane this match, but he's going to have to get his work together in frame number 6, won't he, Chad?
Well, and I think all he has to do, though, is go, I've really hit this lane, so I'm just going to make my shot same way and see what happens.
Can't make it any better than that. 10 straight back, 3 balls in the pocket for him on lane 24, but now this short pattern over on lane 23 that's only 36 feet long is really giving him some problems. What adjustments do you think Dan's going to have to make in lane 23, Chad?
Well, the last frame, it looked like he just pulled it. So as long as he can get the ball going straight down the lane before it's going to start turning left, he should be okay.
Yeah, and the short pattern, he says he's using a natural pearl here, which is a urethane ball, but it looks like he's changed from that. Looks like he's going with that frantic, which is going to be really strong for him on the back end. And covers, gets 10 pins down nicely. And Chad, why would a bowler go to a stronger bowling ball on a short pattern?
Well, there could be a couple of reasons. That we've dealt with a number of bowlers now, so you're getting some carry down, so you need something that's going to fight through that oil at the end, or he just could be more comfortable with that one.
Well, it kind of gets him back near the lead now, but Mason Petrin here working on a real lucky strike he had going into the commercial break in the 5th frame. He's looking for a double. And he's been real comfortable on lane 24 all day.
Yeah, that line that both Ryan and Mason are playing, you just think the ball's going to just start taking a left turn, and it never does. It just holds and holds and makes it all the way to the pocket.
And you just watch the ball slice the 5 out. 6 gets in the 10 nicely, covers it up. He gets his lead back out to 14 pins. Can get out to 24 with another strike here in the 7th frame. And if there's one lane that's been touchy for him all afternoon, it's been this short pattern. That looks pretty nice on line for him, though.
Yeah, he increased the speed on that one. You could really see with his follow through that he really came through that shot, wanted to get the ball going straight, and it was a fantastic shot.
So gets 3 in a row. Yeah, much different than that shot in the 5th frame. And like you said, Chad, it was pretty much all speed on that. Picked up the speed, and it must be nice to be able to pick up your speed when you want to when you're that young.
No, I can do a couple of tenths a mile an hour. That's about it, though.
Well, Dan, double here gets him back within 4 pins, but and that one just got a little spinny out of his hand, it looked like.
Well, and it was surprising. I think off his hand, he probably even thought, well, at least this is going to make it back for a light mixer, but it hit a hold spot, and it never made it.
And we've seen this today. Not an easy spare to be made with the 2-4-5-8, also known as the dinner bucket. So he's going to stay with the strike ball, and he's going to hook at it. You got to make sure you get that back pin out. There's so many times we've seen it where that 8-pin stands after a bucket attempt. Can't cover it any better.
Nope, looks like he just almost made a strike shot on it and just let the ball hook a hair more.
So his maximum score right now, if he goes off the sheet, would be 230. But Mason's right at 230 pace, and he's working on a double. So Dan's pretty much got to go yard, as they say in the baseball game. Go off the sheet and get that 230 up there and hope his opponent makes a mistake. Nicely projected out of his hand, and just can't quite get the 4-pin out.
Yeah, just a little bit high, but a much better shot than his last frame. So I think he's got to be happy with that. Now he's just got to cover this spare and move on.
Yeah, his frames are running out, but you can't give any pins back by missing single pins. We've seen that so many times on these U-Challenge shows where somebody misses a single pin, then the opponent makes a mistake later on, and you go, oh, if that single pin would have gotten made, I would have won the match instead of losing by 5 or 6 pins. No problem covering that up. Nice spare game for him. So, bowls at a 3D bowl down in Illinois. Like we said, Dave Traber. We've seen his other brothers, Dale and Daryl, bowl a lot around the Milwaukee area. Dale, of course, 50 PBA regional titles over the years, so probably the best bowler to never bowl full-time on tour. Mason here looking to add on to that strike string. I think he wants to take lane 24 back home with him. He'll have to talk to his mom and dad, the owners of Lighthouse Lanes up in West Bend, and see if they can put in an extra pair for him instead of the 16 they already have. So.
Yeah, he's definitely really made a great adjustment on both lanes right now, and he's got the match pretty well in hand.
Well, you just saw that graphic for the 900 Global Freight Train. You get that free jersey when you order the bowling ball, and my freight train's on the way. Getting that drilled up for fall league season. I'm looking forward to using that. And there's a couple other nice pieces out there too, Chad, isn't there?
Yeah, AMF, actually, the sister company with 900 Global, re-released the Bullwhip and the Cobra. And I know all your viewers out there that probably bowled in the 80s remember the Cobra. And I know I wish I had one when I was that age. It only took 28 years, and now they came back with it, so I get to throw one again.
Yeah, and there's another ball out there that looks really good for league conditions that 900 Global makes. It's called the Look. Looks nice and angular. A lot of league bowlers like to see long and strong on the back end. Well, that ball's definitely got the look, no doubt about it, from what I've seen, and can't wait to get one of those drilled up as well.
And that's got a hybrid cover stock, and you know, in the industry right now, a lot of times you hear those two words, hybrid cover stock, and people are going to want to throw it, and it is a fantastic ball. Real pretty colors. It's orange and blue, so definitely if you're looking for a ball for a benchmark, that's the one to pick up.
Yeah, make sure you go to 900global.com, get all the detailed information. Go to amf300.com as well, get information about that bowling ball. They got the green mamba that's out there now,
green mamba,
too.
that's right. It looks like a piece of key lime pie. It's a real nice green and white color, and don't forget 3G shoes. If you guys need new shoes out there, that's definitely something to take a look at. They got new colors this year, all great equipment out there.
So I want to thank them for sponsoring this 900 Global Summer Classic. They're also sponsoring our mixed doubles show on the next show, and while we've been talking here, Dan found the pocket again. Got himself a strike first ball of the 10th frame. But with Mason up by 50 pins, this one's pretty much locked up and over.
And that's the whole thing, Phil. I mean, it's not like Dan lost the pocket totally. He was always right around it. He made spares. He had the one open way back in the 4th frame. But outside of that, he's been there. It's just that Mason is so locked in right now.
Mason can go off the sheet. He'll easily be in the 250s with good counts and spares. And a bad break there for Dan. Just leaving that 3-pin, but He's frustrated with himself right now. I mean, you come off a cash-in a PBA regional, and you go, "Oh, I should be able to win this youth challenge stuff easy." Well, it gets down to the step-ladder final. It's a one-game match, and he'll be back. Something tells me Dan will be back. And people always ask me, too, will you say when these youth bowlers, Cody Holbeck won the Burlington All-Star earlier this year at Town and Country Lanes, and he's a youth bowler as well. How can they bowl the youth challenge series? We just let the bowlers bowl as long as they're not 22 years of age or older. As long as they're 21 or younger, they can bowl. They have to take all their awards and scholarship money. So these kids use the scholarship money for college. It's no different than when Cody won his tournament or when Dan cashed in the PBA regional. It all goes in the scholarship funds for the kids. It lets them compete against stronger competition, but it doesn't let them accept cash for prize money. It's a great system they have out there.
Yeah, and it allows them to either stay bowling in certain events that they might not be able to be, before, or junior gold events or anything like that. But it also lets them experiment in other events such as PBA regionals or more adult tournaments.
So Mason here going to cover up that picket fence. There's one we haven't seen on TV too often in recent years.
No, and it's another one though that's fairly difficult to make. It's easy to chop one of the pins off or to wrap the 4 around the 7.
So 244 if Mason can go off the sheet here. Once again, another title for Mason. Singles title this time. He won a mixed doubles title with Brittany Morton a couple of years ago. So, like you said, watch out for the 900 Global Mixed Doubles coming up on the next show, thanks to our friends at Time Warner Cable Sports. 241 for Mason Petrin winning this championship. Chad Source and I are going to come back from New Berlin Bowl. We're going to wrap this telecast up, so make sure you join us after the short break.
Barbiere's, a Milwaukee institution since 1963. Great Italian food for dine-in or carry-out, and great times for your family and friends. Barbiere's, in the heart of South Milwaukee, and near Miller Park on Blue Mound Road.
There's limited availability in New Berlin's fall bowling leagues. Call to reserve your spot today. Come in and enjoy the daily food and beverage specials inside the Ale House. Our spacious and comfortable banquet facility can host your business meeting or your wedding reception. New Berlin Ale House on Cleveland Avenue in New Berlin. Well, Chad, great final match here for the 900 Global Summer Classic for the boys final. Two really solid bowlers out there with Mason and Dan, and really the big difference on why Mason came out on top, little subtle differences at the bottom of the swing.
Yeah, Mason ended up getting the strikes when he needed to. He ended up getting that long string. But Dan didn't really give up the pocket throughout the match. He had one hole in there, and that was it. So I think he had a great game as well.
Great finals that we had here from New Berlin Bowl. 900 Global sticking with us for another tournament. They're going to come back with our Mixed Doubles Classic from Lake Geneva Lanes. Thanks to our friends at Time Warner Cable once again for keeping us on the air. Look for that Mixed Doubles show shortly. And for my friend Chad Source, I'm Phil Brylow, and parents, take the kids bowling. They'll have fun for life, and we'll see you from Lake Geneva Lanes.